Hello, Scrufftards, the occasional Vatnik, and strangers visiting my channel. Welcome to the Warzone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And today we're gonna take a look at an incredible video, or parts of it at least, released by the Chosen Company down in Ukraine, where they break down and go over their own assault of a Russian trench line that made the headlines and made the rounds on the internet and YouTube in particular some months ago. And I've actually talked about this before, but we're gonna take a look at this parts of the latest video on this topic. And I'll provide a link to the original video down below because god damn it, it's an hour long, but you have to watch it to understand modern warfare, trench warfare, the dangers of it, the proximity of the enemy, and the intensity of going into a trench line to clear it of enemies. And this is the video in question, Violence of Action, an hour long. It's posted on the International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine's their own YouTube channel. You have to watch it. Uh, I mean, it gives such an incredible insight into what it means to go into these trenches and the mindset of the people that have gone to fight for Ukraine, to help Ukraine against the brutality of the Russian army and the Russian government in this illegal invasion of Ukraine. You have to watch this video. I kid you not. And in this video, I will actually go back a bit to things I talked about in my original video posted 7 months ago, or a bit more than that even, based on when the footage was new and raw from this assault. And in that, I go over a couple of points that only gets confirmed uh, in this hour-long documentary, basically about the dangers of going into a trench and the dangers of the choices made actually by these guys as they pushed into this trench line. And in my old video, take a look. There's the marker even. Uh, I talk about some of the decisions they make and the dangers of it. And well, as we learn, this assault was made by 14 guys, and they drive in with 5 Humvees. And what they do is this here is the forward Russian positions. This is the where the Russians have all uh, positions built to fight off or engage an enemy, I should say. Over here, it is believed that this is where they're resting, where they can sleep. There's a bunker where they can hide, rest, and recuperate. And this is the forward position. And well, here I point out that you have fire lanes. So if you so we have Alpha, they break in here and fire down this way. Bravo breaks in here and fires this way. Charlie then breaks in here. Charlie is Ukrainians, and Alpha and Bravo are the International Legion. Charlie breaks in this way and fires this way. Now you have Russians between Bravo and Charlie. Now the idea was for Alpha and Bravo to draw attention from Charlie, or as they're pushing in, I should say, the Russians now have to engage Charlie, and the Russians over here have to engage Alpha and Bravo, so they can't focus their firepower. The problem is, though, if Charlie comes in this way and fires this way, they're firing straight at Bravo. And Bravo, as they break in, they now Russians over here, so they are now firing this way, and they're firing at Charlie. And we will actually see this play out and highlight the dangers of these choices that they've made. And we also see, as you can see here, the point is to breach here, move in. And when I also talk about the dangers of reaching this corner when you assault from two positions, and they actually explain how they intended to maintain communication despite the confusion of the combat once they reach that point from two sides. But this here The dangers of this decision actually comes into play in the video, and they explain what happens as well. So they make the assault with 5 Humvees and 14 guys, and they go up against roughly 20 Russians. I believe they mentioned 22 in the end. And this is where they reach the 600-meter mark. They call out 600 meters, and then they begin that push towards the enemy trenches. And they talk about that they don't want too many troops. They say, they point out correctly that you can't always reach that uh, the golden number of a 3-to-1 advantage or a 5-to-1 advantage in a firefight. Sometimes you just have to be, go with the cards you've been dealt with. And they also point out that going into the trenches with too many troops is a danger, because then you bunch up, and if someone throws a frag or there's a drone that drops in, you can kill a whole lot of people with just that one grenade or that one detonation if you're bunched up in the trenches, which is all true. There is that point, though, that you still need to push up to the enemy, and you may risk taking casualties moving towards the enemy. And even with those casualties, you still need to have enough men when you reach the enemy to overcome his positions and defeat him, even as you take casualties moving in. So you still need the 3-to-1 advantage, the 5-to-1 advantage. And these guys are really lucky when they're moving in. So remember, it's a surprise attack. Yes, 5 Humvees, 14 guys, but boom! What if that hit had taken out that Humvee as they're moving in? Right? You still need troops, enough troops when you reach the position to be able to conduct that assault. That was extremely lucky. You have to agree that had they lost a Humvee that early on, that would have set the stage for what eventually happens once it's time to go into the trenches. Now there are 14 of them going up against 22, and they could have lost 4 or 5 guys that early on if they had been unlucky. And kinda to emphasize my point, take a look. They are surprising the Russians. They're bypassing that forward position according to plan to take the Russians by surprise and attack the rear of the Russian position. Take a look what happens now. They stop. They're about to dismount, and boom. They're not in the trenches yet. One Humvee gets blown up. They are not in the trenches yet. As I understand it, everyone inside survives, no casualties. They are wounded, but they can continue with the mission, and you will be able to see them crawling out of this Humvee later on, alive but wounded. As you can see, the 3-to-1 advantage, the 5-to-1 advantage, you need that just to be able to move up to the position when it's time to actually engage the enemy for real. Because you're on the move, you are exposed. The enemy will be shooting at you as you're moving outside of cover. So you don't only need the 3-to-1 advantage to have more guns in the firefight. You need the 3-to-1 advantage to be able to take casualties and still win the firefight. It's not about just having more guns. It's not about being able to outmaneuver the enemy. It's about being able to take casualties and still win the firefight. Now keep an eye up here. Take a look. Whoop! Do you see that? That was this, an RPG round, an explosive round. This is not a heat round designed to take out a vehicle. This does appear to be high explosive, if you ask me. It doesn't look like the traditional heat round. That's fired from a Russian in the trenches at these Humvees, and it misses the good guys. Flies over their heads, flies over the Humvees. Now take a look. This is the Humvee that was blown up. You can see the fire, and you can see people crawling out. Had this hit that Humvee, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 to 5 people that would have been taken out. Again, you need numbers as you're pushing into the objective. So we have already seen why conventional wisdom, why that says you need in trench warfare a 5-to-1 advantage, because you will take casualties moving up to the enemy. You will take casualties breaching into the trenches, and you will take casualties moving through the trenches. And that is why you need the 5-to-1 advantage. This here, combined with this here, shows us how dangerous it is to assault an enemy position, especially when it's prepared defenses involved. Now, as they point out, the Ukrainians mess things up a bit. Unfortunately, they dismount too early, so they have to run. I think it was, did they mention 100 meters, 200 meters before they reach the trench lines? That would be the Charlie squad in this platoon. So we have Alpha and Bravo, the International Legion. They're now on their own until the Ukrainians catch up, basically catching up on foot. So what do we have here? We have Russians here and we have Russians here, and they are now trapped in an L-shaped situation where they are taking fire from all sides. And as we just saw, that RPG was launched from over here somewhere and went over their heads, missed this Humvee. Right, and you can see here you still have wounded. They're crawling around right next to the damaged, destroyed Humvee. Had that RPG round hit here, they would have lost a third of their unit. Remember, 14 guys, and they would have lost 4 to 5 guys in that one hit. It's, assaulting trenches. It's no joke. And these guys, they are high speed, they are efficient, they know what they're doing, and they got the balls the size of I don't know what doing this. And go and watch the entire video, and you will. I mean, they show you the fighting within the trenches. They show you how they drive up. They talk about it. The guys explains every part of the operation. I mean, go and watch that video. You have to watch it. It's incredible. Right, so I was talking about taking casualties moving up, and now casualties breaching. Take a look. A Russian shows up. They cover the trench, but what if that guy had thrown a hand grenade? Right? Imagine if he had thrown a hand grenade in that situation. Or now, right? He backed in. They know he's around the corner. He could throw a hand grenade at any point, or a friend of his. They don't know. These guys don't know. They're talking. They're keeping guns into the trenches. You have enemies. Half a meter, 1 meter. Now they throw a hand grenade in. Hopefully it will knock the Russians out, or make them confused or whatever. And now they breach, go in and clear. Right? So, but as you can see, it's so easy losing troops. So they could have lost easily 2 Humvees going in out of 5. And now they're on the trenches. Also, yeah, so they could have lost quite easily 2 Humvees moving in. They could have taken an RPG round as they were dismounting. And now, as they're right on top of the trenches about to breach, they could have so easily had 1 or 2 hand grenades thrown at them, right? Before even going into the trenches, they could have easily lost half the unit. And now you are 7 guys up against 22 Russians. They haven't even killed a single Russian yet, as far as we know, at this point. And they could have lost half the unit before even going into the trenches and being funneled into kill zones within the trenches against 22 Russians. So 7 against 20, they would have been outnumbered 3-1, pushing into a defensive position. You see why conventional wisdom says 3-1, 5-1 advantage when at assaulting an enemy position. And now for the famous sequence when a Russian is fleeing and ends up right next to the International Legion. He runs back, and the International Legion guys, they open fire at him and take him down. So what happens here is that Ukrainians Charlie Squad has breached on the far side and pushed these Russians back, and they end up being pushed into Bravo Squad. That is the confusion here from the Russians. And what happens now is what I was talking about at the start. One of the guys in Bravo Squad, a Ukrainian, opens fire after the Russians here in the middle, takes him down, but in the confusion, he thinks he has shot one of the friendlies in Charlie Squad further down, because, you know, they are now in each other's lane of fire, shooting at each other. So briefly, they think they have a blue-on-blue situation because of the fact that they are now aiming guns at each other, at the Russians in between. And that is a situation you never want to be in, having friendlies in your lane of movement, in your lane of fire. And that is the situation that we ended up with here. They eventually take out the Russians in between them with hand grenades. But I mean, yeah, Charlie breached here, Bravo breached here. They ended up with Russians in between, and they ended up in a situation where they were firing this way towards Charlie. And we even see as Charlie's moving up, Charlie has to breach the trenches over here, and they are now firing this way. Super dangerous situation. I'm thinking, and I'm talking about this in my previous video, that maybe the original plan was for Charlie to move up here and breach this way. Because, I mean, that seems to make more sense. If you have Bravo breaching down here and going this way, and then Charlie comes here, breaches this way. I don't know. But this whole situation here, super dangerous. There's no way about other way to talk about it. Anyway, what about this situation? Well, they actually mention how they solve it, and it's simple ways, simple orders, simple solutions are the best. In the chaos of combat, things needs to be simple. Complicated orders will get messed up, people will misunderstand, and you will, you know, your brain will freeze up and you don't know what to do because things get complicated, your tunnel vision, and you don't know what you're doing. It needs to be simple. And the simple thing is, they push up to the corner, they push up to the corner, no one goes around the corner. Why? Because then you end up in each other's lane and field of fire. Lane of movement, field of fire, lane of fire. And to avoid that, they bring with them yellow flags, I believe it was. So when they reach here and they hear someone over here, they can just toss a flag around. And so then they know if there's a friendly around the corner, if they get a flag in return. If there's no flag in return and they hear someone, well then, a grenade around the corner and assault. So that's how they solve this when they meet up at the corner here, using these flags to identify friendlies so that they can secure the corner accordingly. And then, of course, they need to know beforehand what to do, who will move in and actually take the corner, right? Who will actually step forward. And there's a bunker over here somewhere as well that they need to go in and clear out because, you know, that's where the Russians are holding up, that's where they're sleeping. But overall, it is intense. You see how they're moving through the trench lines, the chaos of fighting in this environment. And also you see the dangers of moving up to the enemy position, how easy you can lose guys while moving forward, and how easy it is to lose guys as you're dismounting and as you're actually moving up to the trench itself. You can lose so many troops before you even set foot inside of the trench. And when you step into the trench, you still need enough guys to win the actual real firefight, up close, point blank, bayonet, and grenade range. So pulling this off with 14 guys, I mean, hats off. These guys, they are professionals. They know what they're doing. They are high speed. And let's be honest, they were really lucky with everything going on. The Russians, not so much. The Russians weren't lucky at all. Let's put it that way. So don't see this as critique of what they're doing. These guys obviously are in the shit. They know what they're doing. They're risking their lives. They are in those trenches hunting down Russians, fighting for a free and independent and liberated Ukraine. So this is not critique at all. It's just pointing out that, you know, how easy it is to take casualties while on the move, how easy it is to take casualties as you're dismounting, how easy it is to take casualties breaching, and most definitely taking casualties in the trenches themselves. You see it in the video. They do take casualties. They narrowly avoid taking casualties moving in. They take casualties as they dismount, and they almost take casualties breaching, and they definitely take casualties moving through the trenches, as you will see in the video. Watch this video, Violence of Action from the International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine. It will give you incredible insights into the nature of trench warfare and who these guys are, essentially, their mindset, fighting for the freedom of Ukraine against the tyrannical regime in Moscow. So yeah, do it right away. God damn it. Well, that's it. That's all I have for you. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. And I have to repeat myself. Click the link and watch that damn video. Until the next time, as always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.